Welcome back to the NCAA Cross Country Show. I'm your host, Gordon Mack, and we are less than a week away from the big day, the NCAA Cross Country Championships in Tallahassee, Florida. In the South, we typically don't have cross country championships in the South. Typically, they're in the Midwest, Kansas at Rim Rock, Terre Haute, maybe Louisville over on the East Coast. My hometown, Bethlehem, PA, has hosted a few years. But normally, it's always, cross-country weather, cold, windy, sometimes snow like in Madison or rain like in Terre Haute. Rarely is it just hot, flat, or perfect conditions like it's going to be in Tallahassee, Florida. Already looking at the 10-day forecast, looking ahead to Saturday, the 20th. Look at that forecast, 71 degrees, just a few passing clouds, high of 71, 5 to 10 mile per hour winds. Humidity's at 56%. UV index, which I have no idea what that means, it's 4 out of 10. Could have been 3 out of 10, 8 out of 10, 2.4 out of 10. I don't even know what that means. But it doesn't matter. Sunrise, 7:07. So they're going to be able to see. It's during the day. You get the idea. It's just going to be great weather. Maybe a little heat. We don't know. Things can change. But based on what I'm seeing, it's just going to be kind of perfect conditions. So we got that out of the way. Now it's time to prepare for the cross-country championships. And if you kind of want to understand where things are at, we have our final rankings. We released them on Monday. We ranked all of the individuals, top 250 on both the men's and women's side. You can see this. Look at this. The 206th man is Garrett Marsing, the steeplechaser from BYU. That's where we have him. Just edging out Caleb Brown, the freshman from Oregon. Now, obviously, you're ranking 255 athletes. They're not going to be correct, right? I'm not going to correctly predict the order of 255 individuals. But it does help you get a good idea of the team scores, where teams struggle, where teams may be having a strength. Kind of gives you the idea. So check out those rankings. We'll talk a little bit about the individuals at the end of this episode, but this really, cross country, it's a team sport, and that's what matters. It's the team competition. People want to know who's going to win, who's going to podium, who's going to finish 31st. I won't get into that, but we want to kind of look at, now that we have had the whole regular season, I've had the chance to really dive into the numbers, dive into the track pedigrees, their experience at the championship, what they've done recently at regionals, conferences, pre-nats, and I'm able to kind of figure out the scenarios for how each team can win. And here's the thing. If you're the number one ranked team, in this case, NC State women are number one, and the Oklahoma State men are number one, which is surprising. I did not rank Northern Arizona number one. I'll get into that for why I did that. But if you're ranked number one, you control your own destiny. I know they always say, run your race. You just got to run your race. But we're being honest, there are teams out there who can run their race, and they're not going to win. Because if another team also runs their race, they're shit out of luck. So there's only one team on the women's side and one team on the men's side that if they run their race, they will win. And in my opinion, that's NC State women and the Oklahoma State men. But if something goes wrong, there are permutations and scenarios where a different team can win. And I will break it down. In this episode, it is blank team will win if. So you got that. Blank team will win if. We're going to start. We got to go from here. Boom. Saw a little bit of my screenshot. You guys want to look at my backdrop is a picture of the office watching a television screen of the Sixers, because all I do is just stand here and watch television for hours. Anyway, back to the content that you came here to see. Oklahoma State wins if their top five guys, Rodriguez, Meyer, Smeaton, Foster, and Schitsma, all have A races based on their ability. Obviously, Rodriguez, his A race is finishing in the top 5. Meyer's A race, finishing in the top 20. Smeaton's A race, top 30. Foster's A race, top 30. Schitsma A race, top 50. If that all happens, they're winning. So they control their own destiny. Oklahoma State wins if that happens. So now, how does a team like NAU win? Number 2 ranked team. Northern Arizona wins if just one of OSU's top 5 have a bad day. So that could be Rodriguez finishing 25th, because a bad day for him would be 25th. It could be someone like Smeaton finishing 50th, because a bad day for him would be 50th. Foster finishing like 70th. Schitsma finishing 100th. So just one of them needs to have a bad day. They need that and nothing else. Because in a way, NAU basically kind of controls their own destiny, but not really. They need just a little bit of help from Oklahoma State to have one little blemish. And NAU, if they just get the job done, they will win. So that's why they're ranked number 2. Okay, so now let's keep it going. Notre Dame, they win if they need one of OSU's top 5 to have a bad day. So they need the same thing that NAU needs. But then they also need NAU's George Kusha. I'm going to say Kusha. Got it. South African. Bad with names. He needs to finish outside the top 40. If George Kusha finishes outside the top 40 and one of Oklahoma State's top 5 have a bad day, Notre Dame wins. So we're going down the list. So how does BYU win? BYU wins if one of OSU's top 5 has a bad day and George Kusha, I'm going to call him George, and George finishes outside the top 40 and Brandon Garnica finishes inside the top 20. So if those 3 things happen, BYU will win. We're going deeper. How does Iowa State win? Iowa State, they're ranked 5th in the final rankings. They win. Again, OSU, one of the guys needs to have a bad day. Number 2, George Kush needs to finish outside the top 40. Number 3, Brandon Garca needs to finish outside the top 20 because I had him inside, not even finish outside. And then the last thing they need is Notre Dame only needs to have 2 All-Americans. And that's a hard one. It's going to be hard for Notre Dame to only have 2 All-Americans. I think their floor is 3. But if only 2, Iowa State becomes your titles. Let's keep going down this rabbit hole. How do more teams win? How does Arkansas win? Okay, one of Oklahoma State's needs to have a bad day. We know this. George Kush, outside the top 40. We know that. They also need Brandon Garnica, outside the top 20. They need Notre Dame to only have 2 All-Americans. And last but not least, they just need the pace to be conservative through 8K. And the reason why I say that is Arkansas, they have great track speed, but they have good track speed, but not track strength, aka 10K. Now they're running a 10K. If for some reason Kiptu and Mance and Wilshut all decide to take it easy through the first 6, 7, 8K, and there's a pack of 40 to 50 people still in it through 8 kilometers, Arkansas is going to be at an advantage because they have people who can kick. They have someone like Andrew Cabet, who's their number 4 guy, who's more of a miler. He'll be able to survive better in a 10K if it's easy in the first 80% of the race and just hard in the last 20%. So Arkansas will be cheering for a conservative race. Again, they need other things to happen because they're not the favorites, but conservative 8K plus those other 4 things, Arkansas will win. So now here's the last one. I had to group it together. Wisconsin, Stanford, Tulsa, and Colorado. One of them will win if the first 4 things happen, but instead of it being conservative through 8K, it has to be an honest pace. If it's an honest pace, that will eliminate Arkansas, and then one of these more cross-country type teams like Tulsa, Colorado, Wisconsin, Stanford, they'll be able to kind of sneak in for the win. But they need one more thing. They need all of their top 5 runners to have A+++ days. When I first wrote this down, I wrote A+ days. I was like, that's not enough. I was like, maybe they need an A++, and I was like, that's also not enough. I think they need A+++. So it's possible. It is possible that, Colorado's top 5 or Wisconsin's top 5 or Stanford's top 5 all have triple plus A days. And it's possible OSU has one bad runner. It's possible George Kush finishes outside the top 40. It's possible Garnica finishes outside the top 20. He DNF'd last year. And Notre Dame. I think they're going to have 3 All-Americans, but, they had 6 last year, so likely they won't get down to 2, but it's possible. They could get down to 2. You never know. People can trip and fall. And then honest pace, keep it honest. If all that happens, hey, we could have a wild NCAA champion. So that is basically how we're going to decide our men's team champions. Subscribe, like, or put some message in the comments of where I'm wrong, but this is what I got. And Oklahoma State controls their own destiny. Northern Arizona needs Oklahoma State to have one blemish. Notre Dame needs Oklahoma State to have one blemish and NAU to have one blemish. BYU, they kind of are even with Notre Dame in my opinion, but they can trump Notre Dame if Brandon Garnica runs out of his mind and finishes top 20. Obviously, this is assuming Klinger and Mance also are in like the top 10. Iowa State, again, need the blemishes on all the teams above them, and they also need a blemish on Notre Dame, and they'll next be in line. Arkansas, again, all the blemishes you need, but you need the pace to be slow. And then the rest of the kit and caboodle, Wisconsin, Stanford, Tulsa, Colorado, they need all the blemishes to happen. They need an honest pace, and they need AAA races. So we'll see if that happens. I don't know. I'll give you my final predictions at the end of the podcast. So time for the women. How do the women win? NC State, they're basically, I'm going to scroll this up so people can see it better. Let's do it like this. So NC State, they win if all of their top 5 have A- days. Now, if you notice, for Oklahoma State men, I said they all need to have A days. NC State is a little highly more favorite than Oklahoma State is, so they don't just need A days. They can just have an A- day. Now, B+, we're pushing it. But if NC State just has 5 A-, 90% on a test, you're good. We don't need no 99s. We don't need no 95s. Just get the 90, and we're good. Maybe 89.9 rounded up, and you're in. You're national champions. That's NC State's path to success. Just have 5 A-. Colorado, they need Hannah Steelman to have a B- day. Pretty simple. Now, Hannah Steelman was top 5 last year. B- day for her is probably like finishing 30th, right? Because if top 5 is your standard, B-, it's... So that could happen. Hannah Steelman didn't run regionals. She ran conferences, finished in the top 5 at conferences, but she rested regionals. I believe she didn't run Nuttycombe, so... Clearly, she's not 100%, so there's a reason why this is happening. So that's why there's an opportunity for Colorado, because there seems to be a potential Achilles heel in Hannah Steelman. Not that she has an Achilles injury, but if she did, what are the odds? Who knows? But yeah, Colorado wins if Hannah Steelman has a B- day. New Mexico wins. Again, now we're carrying, we need to add the blemishes. They need the blemish on NC State with the B- day. And they just need their number 1 runner to finish inside the top 10. Right now, I have their 1, 2, and 3 all finishing between like 35 and 40. So 3 All-Americans, but they're all at the bottom half of All-American. If just one of them shows up and doesn't finish 35th, finishes 10th, those 25-point drop would be enough to propel New Mexico above Colorado and above NC State. Again, provided Steelman has a B- day. So, again, I think Kevin Sully did some research. It is very rare. I mean, it happens only a few times, but it's very rare where the NCAA championship team doesn't have a runner in the top 10 individually. Doesn't happen that often. So, for New Mexico to do it, we rather them go with history than against history, so that's why they need their runner to be top 10. And, they have like 7 women who all could be top 10. You just got to find one of them. BYU, they win if, again, the blemish on Steelman. They need New Mexico to have a runner finish outside the top 10. And they need their 5 runner to score 60 points. Now, this is going to be hard. I'm not going to lie. Right now, the projections have their number 5 runner in the 80 to 100 range. So they're going to need their 5 runner to have a race of their life and just show up and get 60th. It's possible. Crazy things happen. People come up, people come down. But that's BYU's recipe. It has nothing really to do with Anna Camp or Whitney Orton or Frethway, like all the other top runners they have. That'll all work itself out. They just need their 5 runner to be 60th. Now, these are our top 4 teams. NC State, Colorado, New Mexico, BYU. I think there's probably a 95% chance one of those teams wins. But in the craziness, that 5% chance, here are the teams that could kind of find a way to surprise. So Minnesota, they win. Blemish on NC State, blemish on New Mexico, they need the blemish on BYU, and they need to have 4 All-Americans. Right now, I have them projected to have 3 All-Americans, but their 4th is like back in the 80s. So if for some reason Mexico's 4th runner can find a way to finish 40th, game over. Minnesota will be your national champions. It's possible. They got a good 1, 2, 3, but there's a big drop-off after 3. So they need their 4 or 5 to run out of their minds. And in this situation, their 4 finishing 40th. Because I feel like if their 4th runner is finishing 40th, that means their 5th runner is probably in the 60s or 70s. And boom, that's all she wrote. Last one. Alabama wins if Jamie Reed is All-American. Notice, I didn't put anything like a blemish on NC State or BYU outside the top 60. Minnesota All-Americans, Colorado, New Mexico top 10. All Alabama needs, there's one runner out of the 255 runners who can decide whether or not Alabama is a national champion, and that is Jamie Reed. If she finishes 40th, it's over. I don't care what Colorado does. I don't care what New Mexico, BYU. I don't care what NC State does. I don't care if NC State puts 3 in the top 10. If Jamie Reed, or Jamie, if Reed is All-American, Alabama will win the national title. Because they got 4 other women, notably Mercy Chelangat, who is the favorite to win individually. They got Esther Gittai, they got Tamisma, and they got, I forget how to say her name, a JUCO transfer. I'm bad at names. I need to learn names. That should be my New Year's resolution, is to learn how to say NCAA athletes' names. But anyway, the JUCO transfer who's been running well with Chelangat and the rest of the crew. It all comes to Jamie Reed. She was a DNF at SECs. She finished like 30th or 35th at the regional, so she did it better. But if she finds a way to get 40, I think she's run 9:07 or 9:09 or something like that in the 3K. So she's had that spark. She's had that moment where she's run something. I mean, 9:07 3K, you're talking top 20 in the nation. And 3K is only half of a 6K, so it's not much longer. It's not like she's not having to do a 10K, only 6K. If she's All-Americans, doesn't matter what any other team does, they are your national champions. Now, the odds are it's not going to happen, but if it does, they are your national champions. So that is my how insert blank team wins if. And I want to close out the show with a little bit of some gambling odds. I've created these gambling odds. Unfortunately, I don't believe they're available anywhere because not enough people want to put their hard-earned money on NCAA cross country. But if they did, this is my financial advice. So these are the gambling odds I have for odds to win. On the women's side, Mercy Chelangat, she's minus 200. McCabe plus 100. Orton plus 150. Those are your top 3. Then there's a drop-off with Nichols, Forbes, Rowe being in the plus 400 range. Camille, O'Neill, Vestry, and Camelli plus 500. Throwing a Caitlin Tui at plus 750 for all you Caitlin Tui fans. Someone's going to want to put that money on there. And then the field at a plus 1,000. This is how I would feel the odds are. So, very likely that Mercy Chelangat's going to win. Secondarily likely that McCabe or Orton win. And then after that, you're just kind of taking a flyer and hoping that maybe Forbes strikes gold or O'Neill with plus 500 or, hell, Caitlin Tui at plus 750. But that's what I got for the odds on the women's side. Now, if I was a gambling man, I probably would put probably $200 on Mercy Chelangat. And then I would put, I wouldn't risk anything. I would just go all in. I would put like $200 on Chelangat, win an easy $100. Boom. That's all she wrote because I think she's going to win. So I wouldn't risk it. I wouldn't flirt with an Orton plus 150 or McCabe plus 100. Just go straight for it. 200 all in on Chilenga for the win. On the men's side, these are the odds we have. We have kind of even odds on Connor Mance and Wesley Kiptoo. Makes sense. They finished neck and neck at Roy Griak. Mance undefeated, Kiptoo undefeated except for one loss to Connor Mance. And Kiptoo's a monster. Same with Mance. Adrian Wildschut plus 100. Cooper Tier plus 150. You kind of could say that's like the top four. Tier you just got to have in there because he may not be winning in cross country lately, but we saw what he did at the Olympic trials. He's a 350 miler. He's run 13 in the teens in the 5K. Cooper Tier's got to be in good odds. Then after that, it's kind of, you're taking a risk. Nico Young at plus 300. Isai Rodriguez plus 400. Nur 400. Hicks 500. Athanas Kyoko, that's a good one. Maybe put a flyer on him at plus 500. He's undefeated. I believe he's 3-0 or 4-0. Hasn't really raced anyone hard. He ran in the Southeast Regional, so no big guns out there. He's going to be someone who's going to be like, well, here's going to be a thing. He's going to be someone that's going to confuse people because I believe if he's wearing orange and Oklahoma State's wearing orange, people are going to miscount him as part of Oklahoma State's top 5, which may visually be like, oh, they have 4 guys up front, and really they only have 3 because Kyoko is going to look like an Oklahoma State runner. I'm telling you, it's going to happen. They're like, oh, Oklahoma State looking good. They got 4 up there, and NAU only has 3. And then you look at it, oh, actually, that 4th runner is a Campbell athlete, not Oklahoma State. Sorry for the train if you're hearing it. Train comes in late at night. But we're going through this. Almost done. Plus 750 is the field. If I'm a betting man, I would probably stay away from this. But what I would end up doing is just be wild and put $50 on Kyoko. Why not? $50. I'll put $50 on Kyoko and like $10 on Nico Young. Be wild. But it's going to be probably Mance or Kiptoo or Tier or Wildschut. I mean, that's what it always is. Okay, time for what I think is going to happen. So we have the rankings, and I do the rankings. But when I do the rankings, it's not my prediction. It's not like a Gordon Mack prediction. It's the FloTrack prediction. And I know like I am FloTrack, but I try to separate. So I have what FloTrack thinks is going to happen. And that's the rankings. That's my top 25s and all that. But then I have what Gordon Mack, like sitting on the couch watching the race. This is what I think is going to happen. So to recap, what FloTrack thinks is going to happen. FloTrack is predicting a Connor Mance over Adrian Wildschut, and Iowa State's Wesley Kiptoo getting second. On the women's side, we're predicting Mercy Chilenga for the win, Celia McCabe and Whitney Orton, that being your top 3. Team-wise, FloTrack is going NC State, Colorado, New Mexico, BYU. And on the men's side, we are going with Oklahoma State, Northern Arizona, Notre Dame, and BYU. But now it's time for Gordon Mack. It's predictions. I got to stick with this. I may want to change it right beforehand, but I can't. I got to commit to it. I haven't really put too much thought into it, so I'm just going to go from the gut of what I think is going to happen. So here we go. We'll start with the women. I am going to go. Let's bring up the rankings here on the women, just so I have an idea. I'm going to go with, I believe, Minnesota. Okay, I'm changing. I think Colorado, gets 4th. I think BYU gets 3rd. I think New Mexico gets 2nd, and I think NC State wins. That is what I think is going to happen. So, NC State, New Mexico, BYU, Colorado. Book it. Put it in. That's what I think is going to happen on the women's side. On the men's side, first of all, individually, I think Mercy Chilenga, and individually, I think Connor Mance wins. That's what I think individually wins. On the men's side, team, 4th, I'm going to go with Arkansas. Bullish on Arkansas. I like the Razorbacks. So that's my 4th place team. 3rd place team. I am going to go with I'm going to go with Notre Dame. Doing Notre Dame, 3rd place. I might regret that. I know Sean Carlson. I know Yair Nuguse. They're going to want to win this one bad. They were so close last year. And I would not be surprised if they win. I know I've kind of been harsh on them and but I think I've been harsh on them mainly because they wouldn't let us watch them race that often. But now that we saw them in ACCs and saw them at Great Lakes, they've been looking phenomenal. They are 100%. They have all the tools that you need to win a national championship, and it may happen. I won't be surprised if it happens. It won't be an upset. If Notre Dame wins, it is not an upset. Actually, I would argue, not an upset if Notre Dame wins. I don't think it's actually, I don't think it's an upset if any of the top 3 teams win. Not an upset. But I got to make my predictions. So Arkansas 4, Notre Dame 3, and I think I'm going to go Oklahoma State 2, and I have to do NAU 1. I don't know if I love it, but I can't hate it because it's NAU, man. Like you gotta do it. I'm banking on George Kush finishing in the top 40. He didn't run at regionals. I think he finished top 40. Now, I also can see a situation where the 4 I picked, there's gonna be one that like I screw up and like maybe like a Stanford comes in and finishes in top 4, or like a Tulsa or Colorado. But I'm these top 3 teams, Oklahoma State, NAU, Notre Dame, I just would feel stupid for not putting either of those teams in the top 4. So, and I like my Arkansas Razorbacks, so that basically made up my top 4. So 4 Arkansas, 3 Notre Dame, 2 Oklahoma State, 1 Northern Arizona. That is the Gordon Mack prediction. I'm sure Kevin Sully will give his prediction on the FloTrack podcast. Make sure you like and subscribe to that channel. We'll be doing a live podcast Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday, actually during the race. It's going to be great content. This has been a great show. I will do one more NCAA cross-country show next week to recap the craziness and also give my 2022 way too early predictions. Of course, that's what we needed. The race is going to be over, and we're already going to be thinking about who graduates, who transfers, who's the free agents, all that stuff. But anyway, that is this episode. Hope you liked it. These are the reasons why teams will win, why teams will lose. But in the end, none of it really matters because 255 runners will get on the course, and they'll settle it. They don't need my numbers and my blogging and my YouTube tweets and all that stuff to decide who the best cross country team is. We have a meet for that, and it is November 20th, live in Tallahassee. Check it out; it's gonna be awesome. Like and subscribe. See you.